Hello, folks. So this call had already been introduced for the people who are here. This is just a brief introduction for the people watching the video. And this is our first cohort of creators call. We're trying to find creators within the Q community that are interested in starting a journey around videos and podcasts and putting content out there online with their message. So we just did an exercise about understanding why you want to do this, what is that brings you enthusiasm to dedicate your time and your attention to that. And now we're going to start sharing this enthusiasm. And I thought that was an interesting thing to record because it gives a snapshot of what our community is interested in, what we're thinking about, what we are caring about. And hopefully we can do something with this care and we can manifest a bit of this care in the world in the form of knowledge shared, a message shared with everyone. And as I mentioned to you folks, I'll be taking notes on the side. So to try to understand if there are clusters of themes between what you folks are saying, and if we can connect people with similarities maybe. And I also encourage you to use the chat and say, like, I would like to follow this channel. I would like to connect with you. I would like to contribute, to collaborate with this project that you're doing. And with that comes that moment that I ask the first person to open their mics and share their enthusiasm. After the first one, everything is easy. The first one.
So can you hear me, Joriam?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go for it.
Fine. So my name is Aklat Chowdhury. I'm a Deputy Medical Director for Quality and Safety at Burton and Derby Hospitals. So I think I have a lot of enthusiasm for creating content and perhaps in the quality improvement field, mostly from my own self-interest and just enthusiasm more than anything else. But it's also helped me to develop better understanding of improvement as the journey goes on. I have a colleague that I work with. We used to work at the same trust. He's now working at KPMG, but we create sort of small videos, blogs and things to share. I think it's a good opportunity just to basically a bit of, thoughtfulness behind improvement, and perhaps some thought leadership about where we should be going. There's a lot out there in improvement, but if you read most of it, it's primarily from professorial departments and probably haven't been out and about, and doing this. So a lot of academic stuff on improvement, but perhaps not how it works day to day and some of the challenges that we all face. So if it's okay, I'll just, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but if it's okay just to share the screen, just so, is it okay to share a screen? I think you've disabled
I need
screen
to
sharing.
I need to give you the
Yeah.
powers. Wait, where is the button? There it is. Okay, you should have
Is
the
that
power.
okay? Yeah,
Sure,
that's
of
fine.
course.
And I'll stop talking very soon, don't worry.
No, we have
Can I
time.
share the screen? Oh, here we go. Screen number 2, window. Oh, goodness, this is much easier on the MS Teams. Let me try that. Okay. Not sure if you can see that at all. Yeah. So great. So just it's called quipstart.com. So it's a venture. It's mostly educational. There are some other aspects to it. We have a video which goes on to an educational session about QI. But the things that we get quite excited about are these things, the blogs, which are basically free to access for everyone, a bit like what Q Community does, to be honest, but slightly sort of, various topics, and you can click on any of them and it will just give you a sort of blog piece. And most of them are written, not all of them. So written blogs, some are video blogs, some are podcasts as well. So it's just a kind of a mixture. And I think we kind of do it just sort of that we can discuss things. So this one is basically what kind of QI type methodologies are out there, and it's just a complete summary of all of them that we are aware of that you could do perhaps as improvement. There are other things that we could also focus on. For example, we have an A to Z QI, and there's all videos about that. So quite a bit of education. I'm not going to go through all of that. I'm just going to stop sharing that. But I mean, just you asked me to take some notes about why we're doing it. So for me, it was to share QI experiences in the real world, support free educational training where we can, promote improvement mindsets. So about, doing improvement in the right way and growth mindsets. And I find it quite enjoyable. So it's a bit of a hobby on the side that I do after work, but it's linked to my role as well as quality improvement lead for the trust. In terms of the challenges, time, not my day job. Experience of feedback sometimes varies. It's not quite clear who's out there, to be honest, on Twitter and other things. So even Helen Bevan, who is our most sort of prolific QI blogger and tweeter, she gets at best 400 likes, and there's a lot of people in the NHS, so 400 still is a relatively small number, and so you wonder who's out there that's really interested in this stuff. So it's just my thoughts on that, but I think it's something that is worth doing. I quite enjoy it. It makes you think, a bit like writing a paper. It will make you think about, and put your ideas in. And to be honest, if you're putting it out in social media, and putting out to the world, you got to be ready to take some both positive and negative aspects of what you're doing. So it does make you think, and it's good to get challenged in that way. But yeah, got to stop there.
Thank you. I'm putting a couple of keywords that I compiled from ACLAC there. Please let us know in the chat if this is a project you'd like to follow or a project you'd like to connect with and collaborate. But just a little note before the next person. This is very advanced. This is started. It has animation. You can be an absolute beginner, and we're ready to host you as an absolute beginner. But you don't have to. We have people in the Q community, like Jonathan has a podcast going for years, and Pete Dunn released like 50 videos on how to use wheelchair skills. So we do have people with some experience, just like ACLAC is one of them, but we're also ready for the beginners. All right. Thank you. That was great.
Just to say on that note, in terms of creating content, I'm a relative beginner. I've only been doing it for 1.5 years, so you can start from anywhere. Don't feel like you need to have some kind of a degree in co-creation or blogging or watching. You can, after watching a few YouTube videos, you can pick it up relatively quickly. So don't feel that you need to have some kind of course behind you before you start. Yeah.
Thanks. That was great. Anybody else would like to share their enthusiasm? I saw some unmuting, but Alex.
I think that was me. That was me. It's Wendy. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
Excellent. Fine. I think for me. Oh, sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Alex, you're up. You're next, but you can start when it's cool.
Oh, sorry. Should I carry on? Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So I think for me, we're trying to get some feedback from one of our leadership courses we're running. So we're just finishing cohort 1, and we want to use some video to encourage people to join cohort 2. So we had a bit of a practice run at one of our quality improvement events a couple of weeks ago, and using some of your techniques you taught, like the clapping and this sort of thing. And I think for me, it's just about, people are so used to looking at videos and using that visual element of learning about things, that we really wanted to sort of incorporate those into our, like I said, to encouraging our next cohort to join. What I did notice were things like when I was interviewing, I've got a tendency to, because of the way I've been taught around communication, is to use those affirmatives, between. So when somebody says, oh, it was a great conference, and I'm going, oh, really? Oh, that's great. And using sort of, you can hear me in between the sort of interview, and I couldn't really get rid of those because it made it really. So I think the lesson to myself is when I ask a question is to just let people talk and not interrupt and not say, you know, they're all and oh really, oh that's interesting, and you know, just not to do that, because I just couldn't edit it out. Just wasn't a way to edit my voice out. So that was great learning for me on the last one. And also I didn't go far enough from the noise in the room, and it was quite noisy in the background as well. But yeah, when we were editing, the clapping was great. It was a really good, particularly as we said, somebody swearing at the edge, not badly, but it just meant we were able to edit that bit out before we sent it to the board. So that was all right. Yeah, so so the techniques that you're teaching us are really, really good. I think something that would be really useful is interviewing techniques. So when you are asking people, is, you know, sort of, how do you do that? How do you encourage people to speak without yourself speaking? I suppose it's all the nodding and the eye contact and stuff, isn't it? But that would be really useful if you've got any tips on that.
That's great, Wendy. But I'm still interested in your whys. What brought you to this project? Why are you doing this? What sort of impact do you think this can help you create?
Again, I just see it as a really good medium. So for me, it's about creating something that people will watch, will listen to, and it'll enthuse them. So, you know, I want to be able to encourage people to use the you know, to join our next cohort of leadership. So, you know, it is a really good way to be creative. It's very time consuming, that's the only thing, you know, when you're trying to do it. But yeah, it is about being creative and thinking about different ways to communicate the message. So I think that's, for me, why I want to get good at doing it, because I think it's a really good medium.
Great, thanks for sharing. I'm also sharing a couple of notes I took from what Wendy said on the chat here. And Alex, would you like to go next?
Hi. So I'm a quality improvement lead for Blackpool Teaching Hospitals, and I'm very much trying to drag us into 21st century. So I've done some amateur video creation in regards to how-to guides on a couple of different things, not quite to the extent as quipstart.com. But I suppose I'm wanting to see or find some tools or ways of working to try and engage with people better. I think there's a trick missed currently with how well people can understand what they can do from a QI perspective, but also learning from excellence and what good work happens across our trust or neighbouring trusts or around the country, but probably a bit more of a local thing that I want to start with. And whether that be creating video blogs for staff who are involved in projects to showcase what they have been doing, what they've learned, what they failed forward with, or had great success with, and then potentially podcast maybe. But I feel like we live constantly in this world of emails and sending newsletters and things like that. And I mean, I work a lot with wards, and I think the vast majority of ward staff don't read them. They don't look at them because they don't have time to look at those emails on their work computer. Whereas if we could enable a platform or give them a platform that they can access more easily, so through their phone, but obviously secured to the trust, then we can provide them with a video or a podcast system that they can listen to what's going on, or they can watch what's going on in their own time, in snippets, in quick little blogs, whatever it may be. And I just feel like we're going to get a lot more uptake in people wanting to get involved in QI projects and programs, but also a lot more people understanding the change in culture and the way that QI is a way to work. I mean, create positive inquiry into QI within the working environment.
Great, thanks for sharing. Also sharing my notes here in the chat. And Brian said here for the same reason. Alex, would you like to share maybe next with us, just so we find the bridge here?
Sorry, say that again, sorry.
Sorry, I was just inviting Briony. Sorry if this is the wrong pronunciation of your name. I am not a native English speaker, and sometimes I make those mistakes. But not sure if they're sharing. Oh, you can't unmute. It's fine. It's all right. If you want to type maybe something and then I can read it out loud, that could work. And I see there's a raised hand from Lauren. Yeah, would you like to go next, Lauren?
Hiya. Yes, I'm Lauren Gascoigne, so I'm a Communication Engagement and Project Officer in the QI team at Derbyshire Community Health Services. So I'm very much the same as Alex, sort of wanting to sort of find ways for staff to, embed quality improvement within the work. I think we sort of, because we're a community trust, I'm finding it hard to engage with those staff, like Alex said, about on the wards who don't have time to look at their emails. Things like that, and especially like with community staff, they're out and about all day driving around, going to see patients, and then they've only got a little bit of time actually in the office. So it's about finding the best way to connect with them. So I have found that videos have been much more useful. So we used to run training sessions over lunchtime, and obviously we were really grateful that people were taking their very precious lunchtimes to come in attend the training session, but we were getting like 20, 30 people, if that. But then once we decided to stop doing that and turned the sessions into like bite-sized videos, we found that we're getting hundreds of views on the videos. So we found that it's actually a lot better although there's the benefits of having in-person training sessions, creating these really good content videos is actually a much easier way to connect with the more people. So again, I'm very much like making it up as I'm going along. Videos and very sort of new to it, probably within the past year. But yeah, so I'm very much in a similar places like Alex and Aklak as well, of trying to use other and better ways to reach people when they've not got the time or the space to do it. So yeah, thank you.
All right, I just shared some notes on the chat. This is great. Let me read what Briony said on the chat. I'm an improvement facilitator at University Hospitals Plymouth. We are part of our national improvement program that we call People First. Part of this is to create a culture of improvement within the trust. Currently, we use newsletters, Twitter, and email. That's already a lot. But I find that it isn't best practice, and I'm keen to find out other ways that we can promote our services and create that culture of improvement. Yeah, pretty cool. It feels like there's a little bit of a cluster here of understanding that the message that you've been saying is very good, but the format makes a huge difference, especially in regards to people's time. And this is great insight, honestly, because you're right. I think we can all agree that spending half an hour into something it feels very different when you have to be there at a certain time, or you can choose whenever you can be there, right? Caroline, would you like to share next?
Yeah, thank you. And looking at what Lauren said, when you work in communications as I do in the NHS, so hard getting information out to staff, isn't it? Especially if they're not actually on a computer, and even if they're on a computer, they get far too much, don't they? So I'm a communications specialist in the NHS. I was at the Health Innovation North West Coast, if any of you have heard of that, formerly called an HSM, and been producing podcasts for about the last 4 or 5 years. My background is as a journalist working in BBC Radio. So when I had the opportunity to do podcasts in my health job, I was absolutely thrilled because I love storytelling. I think it's one of the main strands of getting messages across is the stories behind the information, the people, humanizing the people, rather than just giving information. I think it's so important getting people on board, whether it's a campaign, whether it's information that can be very dry. So I'm really passionate about storytelling generally, but in particular podcasts, having worked in print, radio and TV. I just love the informal nature of a podcast and the fact that you're getting to know the person more than the information they're imparting. It's more about the person. So it's really important that when you have a podcast, you're actually talking to somebody who's going to engage the audience, really capture their interest. And that's about their personality and their way of delivering. They may not be the world's biggest expert on whatever, but if they've got a story to tell, their own personal story, and they can put it across well, and they have passion, they're the best podcast interviewees. So I'm in the position of, I've just left the NHS full time, but I'm working as a consultant. But part of my role now is I'm helping a local trust set up their own podcast channels. I'm currently researching 6 episodes I'll be setting up, and I'll be hosting for them at first, but I also train people. So I train people in being a podcast host, producing their own podcasts, and I do media training. So if Joriam, you wanted help with interview training, for instance, that's what I do all the time as well. So I'm a very passionate supporter of people being helped to tell their stories, either themselves or through help from someone like me. And the other thing just to mention quickly is what I've been wanting to do for the last year, and I think I've now got the time and space to do it, is to organise an event, which is to encourage people to produce their own podcasts as a way of to do with the NHS, to do with healthcare, to help get the messages across about health through a podcast. How do they do it? And I've come across clinicians who do it with no budget. There's one clinician in particular. She does it every Friday morning at 7 a.m. She connects with a colleague in Cardiff. They're on Teams. They record a podcast, half an hour, goes out once a week, and there's no frills. But she's actually imparting specialist information to fellow clinicians. Brilliant. And she tells me that there are other clinicians doing exactly that. So you can go from that base of no budget to the high-tech production and something in between with help. So I am going to organise this event. I'm going to get this off the ground next year and bring people together to learn from podcasters who do it with no budget and no broadcast experience, and those who do it professionally, so we can learn. So I'm really pleased to join today. Thank you.
We're very pleased to have you. Once more, I'm sharing notes in the chat. I see a question here from Michael on the chat. Is there a good resource for developing storytelling? Agree, patient stories are very powerful. And yeah, sure. There's so much that actually the question is how can I find the good ones, and not is there any available. And hey, like it would really help us, especially because this is a new group, it's just starting. If you could put this on the SIG wall, and then me, and hey, probably Caroline as well, since she has all of that experience, we can point you to good resources on how to become a better storyteller, or what is the nature of a story. But believe me, there's way too much content on that online. It is a matter of curation and not finding the content. But sure. And by the way, this is an invitation is open for everyone. Since we have specialists in the room and we have this special interest group, please, for general questions like that, please put your questions in the group so that when we answer you, everybody else can benefit. It already happened a couple of times, even though it's a new group, and it's just a great interaction. Everybody wins. I see there's a couple of people struggling with the mics. So how about that? I'm going to read one, and I'm going to invite somebody to talk, and then I'm going to read another, and I'm going to invite somebody to talk, just so we have some variation. Jade says, hi, sorry, can't unmute either. It's fine, folks. It's pretty fine. I am a quality improvement coach at the Royal Berkshire Hospital. I'm more here to listen and learn than to do content creation right now, which is absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. You're welcomed. Our trust has a great QI strategy and looking to launch online training next year. So trying to get ahead with what sort of content people engage with more to help with future planning. I'm just also getting, I'm already put in my notes that one future session could be about interviews. There are particularities on interviews that that if you learn before you try them, just like Wendy was saying, it saves you some time and some energy. But I'm also hearing there's a lot of educational content, so guides, training videos. So in the future, if we can manage to stay with the group, this is also something I can prepare a little 15-minute video guide, and not only how to make videos and podcasts, but like how to use techniques that famous YouTube, TikTok, podcast educators use in the day-to-day that can, you know, help everybody who's trying to teach something. So with that, let me invite somebody else to open their mic before I carry on reading the contents of the people struggling with microphones. Does anybody else want to share their enthusiasm?
I could go now, Joriam, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. My name's Sarah. I have two roles, and I think that I have interests in this area from kind of both perspectives. So one of my roles is working for a small not-for-profit organisation, and we work with commissioners and providers of therapy services. And my other half of the week, I manage the speech and language therapy service in Milton Keynes. So for the first part of my role, the kind of consultancy area, we're kind of looking at ways of kind of getting our message out there more clearly so that people can understand the fairly unique offer that we have around kind of children's therapy services. And we find that because there's quite a lot of kind of cultural transformation as part of the processes that we facilitate, we could probably benefit with having more resources to go to for people to go back and look and reflect on, because quite often it's quite a big shift from where they currently are and how they currently think. And often a meeting can seem to go well and people kind of move forward with their thinking. But I think that we need a kind of set of resources that people can kind of go back and kind of refresh their memory and investigate in a little bit more detail. So having means of doing that. And we're also thinking of kind of using podcasts to maybe kind of build a community of people so they can share transformation stories and kind of processes that they've been through on their transformation journeys. So they're the kind of key things related to that work. And then quite different for the speech therapy management job, looking at kind of developing maybe a series of videos for parents, and there's already quite a lot of stuff out there, so kind of working out kind of what would be of real benefit and how we kind of curate and kind of promote that, but also possibly having some kind of parent connection as well, so that we can facilitate some kind of parent groups for children where their children might have kind of similar needs. So yeah, so a few different angles really.
Amazing. I love the practicality in it, but it's yeah, you're juggling two different universes, right?
Yeah.
But maybe there's maybe one skill set for two universes. You know, it increases the value of the skill set if it serves more than one purpose in your professional life. So took some notes here on main themes, and let me read out loud somebody else who had mic issues. This is normal, folks. Don't worry, okay? This is very normal. Just to be clear. Hi all, apologies, struggling with mic and camera with Zoom. It's all right. I'm a senior officer at NHS Education for Scotland in the bereavement program. We have recently launched a podcast talking about bereavement, and keen to hear some ideas that could improve a future podcast. It's really cool to see that there's a mix between people who are thinking about it and people who already started the journey. Becky, please share the link with us in the chat here. I would love to check it out. And yeah, just knowing that you already started and you put something out there and you had a reaction from it, this is just so useful for this group. And as I said, maybe somebody else's experiment can help you in the future. Diane, would you like to go next?
Yes, please. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Diane. So I'm definitely in the thinking camp. I haven't started doing any production of anything yet. So my two kind of whys are, I'd like to create some messaging that's inspiring, and I just think that using different media and technology can help to create with the inspiration side of getting messages out. My message is around person-centered practice, person-centered care, whatever you would like to call it, and supporting clinicians to make some changes. But often one of the barriers that we get is that people think that they're doing it already, and it's just really to try to inspire. There are plenty of videos out there already, but I have a particular target population. There are ones that I would like to be able to translate some of the resources as well. And then also there's the education piece. I deliver programs that support people in their delivery of person-centered care. And I think it would be good to have some resources that either are the focal point of a discussion or education resources, but that sort of help people on their journey. So there's two parts to that. I think I'm a little hesitant because I'm maybe feeling quite isolated in doing this by myself and feeling a little bit nervous, and perhaps I haven't quite developed the storytelling part of it yet, as was talked about before. So I was kind of looking for maybe some community support, and yeah, sometimes you need to be a bit brave, I think, to try some of these things, and that's what I'm kind of looking for, some motivation to do that.
This is really cool. Thanks for sharing. And yes, it feels like I created a call just for you, didn't it? Great. Just paying attention to the time, folks. We have 12 minutes, which should be enough for everybody to be able to share. But just so we look at the clock, and also, hey, if you haven't shared, come share. This is a space for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Joriam, and thank you, members. So I'm joining all of you from Dubai, and so I'm just following Q community for some time, and especially Matthew Messi is connected in Twitter, so he posted about this one. I found it interesting and came across. So I'm an OD and change professional, so thought of how can I bring in OD culture change aspects in organizations, and how we experience the way in which people are interacting, especially who is speaking more, who is speaking less, why he's speaking less or more, those kind of things, and bring that into perspective. So I haven't moved into that. So it is an experiment which I am planning to explore and proceed with. Thank you. Thank you all.
Pretty cool. But I got interested. So what sort of content do you imagine yourself creating around this?
Yeah, something which speaks on organizational culture, change, leadership behaviors, etc.
Cool, thanks for sharing. This is great. Anybody else who haven't shared yet? Go for it, Peter.
If I can manage to talk, that's not a good start. So I guess I'm kind of picking similar themes to some of the other people that have already gone before me, which isn't surprising because I'm one of the very last ones. But I think for me, this has come about because I worked in specifically QI within NHS for kind of 14 plus years for trusts, and then went over to kind of industry, the social care side of things, but it was private company, and saw how they were doing things, and it really kind of awoken for me just those differences of how we do, particularly QI, and I've always had a human factors slant to me, and really wanting to push that side, and it's throughout all of this, I think it's kind of really made me go, we concentrate too much on the Q from QI element, and actually personally, I'm more about the CI and making it a continuous, and how can we get that psychologically safe space to enable to bring people forwards and things like that. And I went through a period last year where unfortunately my entire team, we were all made redundant, and it was suddenly like, oh, what am I going to do? And I suddenly thought, actually, well, yeah, I have some knowledge and information that I would perhaps like to try and impart in some fashion. And I had been thinking of podcasts just because, for me, I listen to about 1 million different podcasts of all different types. And so it's a natural kind of medium for me, and also because I don't really like being on screen. So it was kind of like, yeah, how can I move this forward? And I mean, I've since, as the screen behind me now shows, have fallen into, and I do program management for the ICB, but that's a contract job. So come April, that may not continue. And it's like, actually, I want to try and take this forward, but I'm really not sure how to do that. And it's, I guess, similar to Diane in terms of it would be just me on my own. I don't have a team to rely on to kind of back me up and kind of go, oh yes, no, you should try doing this, or what about that? So the idea of this group really appealed to me in terms of just getting a bit more information about how to do it. I've got cameras and mics and things like that, but actually what are the practicalities of it? What exactly is my target audience, and how would I then promote it, and everything else like other people have been saying. So yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and hopefully learn from the masters who've all done this before.
Great, thanks for sharing. Is there anybody who hasn't gone yet? I think we might have covered everyone, even though some of you didn't have your mic on, which is absolutely fine. But just we haven't heard some of the voices, but we've read the words. Great, folks. This is great material to work with. Thank you so much. And just a couple of thoughts and invitations in those last 5 minutes. First of all, as I mentioned, but now solidifying it, we should have a little course on interviews and a little course on educational content. By chance, I have experience with both. Once upon a time, I had a video company that did mostly interviews. So I have a couple of things to share, and yeah, educational content is all I've ever done. So perfect. Besides that, I hear you, Peter, when you say like you don't exactly know who's your audience or how to reach them, and we're gonna get there. But it's very important that I am 100% transparent and clear with you. Don't get caught up with that at the start, okay? The important thing is to get started. And because of the way especially the algorithms work nowadays, you have all those ideas of who your audience is, but the truth is the audience is gonna test you. The audience is gonna send you to all sorts of people. Even if you use the best words, even if you know who you want to talk to, the audience is going to distribute you, and whoever watches you, the audience is going to send you more to those people. So we live in the world where we have all the strategy, but the reality is we depend on those machines. It's a strange thing, but in many ways it can be way more helpful even than our strategies. We're gonna get there, but first we should get started. We should do a first experiment, even if we don't post it online. First comes the action, then comes the thinking in this world of internet media. Okay, folks, so what I'm gonna do is, actually, very important. If you would like to be part of a cohort, just to make my life easier, GDPR, blah, 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 could you please put your email on the chat right now? And I'm gonna compile all this information, all those notes I took, everything that you said in the chat. I'm gonna sit down with this information and think about how to connect you folks and what groups would benefit each other the most. And I'll send you an invitation to join a cohort or to continue this cohort with a smaller one. Probably next year, because we all know that December is not the best universe for health and care. Like everybody's running around. I am well aware of this. But how about that? Around the 20th of January, I already pre-scheduled this email this year, but on the 20th of January, you're going to receive an invitation. And yeah, I invite you between now and the 20th of January. So there's 2 months ahead to try something. If you don't know where to start at all, you go on the Q Communities YouTube channel. I can fetch the link in a second for you, and it will teach you how to record yourself and how to edit yourself. And even if you don't post online, that is fine. But the experience of trying, the experience of seeing how it feels inside of you, the experience of thinking, would I post this or not? Those experiences are crucial for you to start doing this properly. And you will find that some things that you thought would be so difficult are not. And you'll find that some things that looked so easy are the worst. And that is part of the learning. As soon as you understand where your challenges are, this group here, your cohort and myself and the other people with experience, they will be able to help you very directly on exactly where you need help. Okay. Yeah. Thanks very much for your presence. That was a lovely call, and I really enjoyed learning everything about your enthusiasm.